Suppose is sabotaging my company to close down before she go online.
I don't belong to any syndicate.
Whoever is that, Chioma?
It was a hot Friday afternoon in the month of September, and I just returned from a hectic work day. And while contemplating on what to eat, I found myself lazy scrolling through Facebook. I was just hoping to enjoy this self-gratifying act till I was greeted by a flurry of arguments over something as little as a product review. So this sounds funny, right? But I thought so too. But a few scrolls, meanderings, and reads later, I found the original miracle. A young Nigerian lady, who I later found out to be a social media influencer, named Chioma Okoli, had just written a post on her timeline. This post appeared to be very controversial, as she made some bold claims about a food product. So let's get right into it. At this point, I can guess you are thinking, nothing serious, right? Well, I was too. I didn't even want to spend enough time reading the comments, as I just felt this is just another unimportant story that is being given undue hype by netizens. Well, I was very wrong. Thousands of comments had flooded our wall, calling for a boycott of the product in question. A number of people have agreed with our assertion, while some blatantly disagreed with our approach. And before I knew it, it was a full-blown internet war before my very eyes. So I looked closer to find out that the lady in question followed up her post with a series of comments and responses. But don't let me spill the milk yet. There's a lot to uncover in this story. Closer looks, they say, prevent hasty assumptions. So let's dive right into it. If the woman in question, Mrs. Chioma Okoli, knew that a seemingly harmless product review would have led to her being scapegoated by the parent company of this product in question, perhaps she might have taken a second thought before putting out the said post. This story reminds me of the famous words of Idi Amin Dada, which says, there is freedom of speech, but what I cannot guarantee is freedom after speech. This is an interesting story of a man, a woman, and a product review. Stay tuned, even as I take you through the entire turn of events since Chioma Okoli made a review of a product from Erisco Foods Limited. It was a Sunday afternoon in September 2023, and Chioma Okoli had just returned from a church service in the Ogudu area of Lagos State, when she was apprehended by members of the Nigerian police force concerning a Facebook review she made a week earlier. What was her crime? She claimed to have bought a Nagiko tomato paste, which the manufacturers have clarified to be a tomato mix, manufactured by Erisco Foods Limited, and found it to be quite sugary. The follow-up to this was a damning remark of the product's KI 3 * people.
But where she said by herself that her product is killing people.
I've taken a lot of time to actually examine the story. And one of the things I can say is, the argument of Chief Erisco Mafia is a question of Chioma's intentions. He questions the intentions behind a Facebook post and says if she really had good intentions, she would have channeled her review through the right sources.
If she have good intention, she will have proven her case by bringing the sample.
Going back to Chioma Okoli, on the fateful day of her arrest, she was picked up per the instruction of the Inspector General of Police, and she was immediately flown from Lagos to Abuja to face the police. However, according to her, things happened so fast and did not pan out as she expected. What ought to be just an investigation ended up becoming almost an outright interpretation of intent vis-a-vis a conviction. According to her, she was locked up and had her phone seized. In fact, she was only released a day after the arrest, following several discussions and pleas, which led to her deleting the initial post as part of the agreement, an action she has since renounced and recanted, having claimed to have done it under duress. What Chief Erisco Mafia is doing is to simply pitch a right to free speech, which is right to respond within the ambit of the law.
Oh, you should investigate me. If I'm killed, I should be killed.
But are his actions still in line? Has it not gone too far, now that the woman in question has turned back to say that she was intimidated to recant her words, and that she strongly stands by her initial assertion about the tomato waste? A singular statement by Chioma Okoli appears to be the crux of the argument of Chief Erisco Mafia. According to him, she claimed that his tomato paste, or his tomato mix rather, is killing people.
I rather close the Erisco food down and fight for my reputation.
This singular assertion seems to be the difference between a harmless review and an outright attempt at brand destruction by Chioma Okoli, according to Chief Erisco. So he throws at her the burden of proof argument. Chief Eric maintains that his product is a tomato mix and not the tomato paste. Also, it is certified by the National Agency of Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, and so it is allowed to contain some amount of sugar, albeit in approved proportions. NAFDAC has also come out to put out a series of tweets to validate his claim. Internet never forgets, does it? Social media users have equally dug up Chief Eric's comments on foreign tomato paste manufacturers, saying he also made a similar assertion, using the exact words Chioma Okoli employed. This equivalence, although some might argue that the context is a little bit different, in all fairness, makes it difficult to say if he even has a moral ground standing to take on Ms. Okoli. Now, in the midst of all of these happenings, Chioma Okoli eventually decided to change the lawyer who initially represented her during her first ordeal with Erisco and the police in Abuja. Now, the reason for this is not so clear to me. I would probably presume that maybe his approach was a little bit timid or relenting to her, but with the famed Erisco, a renowned human rights lawyer, taking up this case, we might be in for a more prolonged and fierce case in court. So in a twist of events, she has denied all of the allegations that were leveled against her. And with the help of a new lawyer, she has filed a $350,000 lawsuit against the company Erisco and the Nigerian police. Erisco, like many others, argue that what we are witnessing is a complete intimidation, defamation of character, and an outright abuse of power. Just when you think everything is about to take shape. Well, I hate to break this to you, but Erisco has also personally sued Erisco for defamation.
To comply with our agreement, he dropped that one, come Lagos, go with another charge and bail lawyer.
Erisco, in a statement issued a few weeks back, said he's demanding 100 million naira in damages, with an apology letter which must be published in 2 national daily newspapers, while insisting that his demands must be complied with within 14 days, or would commence legal proceedings against the Erisco boss. The statement in view was made by Chief Erisco during his interview with Television Continental (TVC). I would describe this entire ordeal and situation as tending towards a double jeopardy for Erisco Foods Limited. Several international media houses and human rights groups have weighed in on this issue, and the outcomes are not what any business would want to pray for, particularly in these times when the economies of Nigeria is really trying to fight back. So a simple search, for example, Erisco tomato mix on Google gives off some of the most putrid and damning reviews I've seen in a very long time. In truth, Chioma Okoli's comments are enough to give any serious-minded business something to think about. And Erisco, for example, did mention that the moment the statement was made, a number of its clients and suppliers decided to dissociate themselves from them. In fact, they did mention that they lost multiple credit lines. So in essence, they explained that they served a civil lawsuit to actually safeguard their brand and the company's reputation. And legally, they are within their rights to take matters to the court, just as they have done. But the circumstances surrounding their arrests are what I believe could have been better done. So from the get-go, Erisco had 2 options. Either to take legal action against the person attacking the integrity of his business, or to make a business decision by seeing the false publication as an opportunity to promote his brand without necessarily taking any legal action.
Drop my case, I'm not dropping it though. I'd rather die.
Business-wise, which is also quite dicey, it will come across to me that many of these are simply PR failure by the company, and the long-term business effects is even yet to be seen. I can't but think of how this affects the very brand that Chief Erisco is trying to promote and protect. As I mentioned, being an indigenous brand that serves families and provides for up to 3,000 families, he has to put them into consideration. He should avoid throwing away the baby with the bathwater given the almost negative attention he has garnered over the past few months, which could prove detrimental for the business. Again, his right to pursue a lawsuit is not in question, but the major concern for me is, are there no alternative solutions? Was there no other way out? Rightly so, businesses sometimes need to take a strong stance against actions that threaten their reputation and existence. But is litigation always the best course, particularly in this situation? For example, look at the Nigerian police force. Picking up an alleged offender, a pregnant one at that, who resides in Lagos, and prosecuting her in a state where she does not reside, nor was a crime committed, begs the question of morality and ethicality. The story will always garner public sympathy, even if the offender is proven to be wrong. This is why, at the very least, an attempt at prosecution could have been set at a location that is well accessible for the offender. Also, the cameo appearances that the CEO of Erisco Foods, Chief Erisco, has granted throughout this period could have been handed to an expert PR team to manage. Given their expertise, they would know how to play the diplomatic game without sometimes getting emotional or, damaging the business in some way that, is worse than what we already have. So, the errors of Chioma Okoli and her missteps could have been pointed out easily without literally playing the company or putting the company into a difficult position. Another argument I also subscribe to is if it was a competing firm that was responsible for a false publication, like they made the same statement Chioma Okoli made, the business owner will most likely and should most likely be moved to take a serious legal action, maybe both civil and criminal, against them, claiming huge sums in damages, especially in a civil action. However, in the case like this where the publication was from an individual who holds no form of societal prominence or a high network, the business owner may just opt for the second option, which is to ignore the individual and waive its right to instigate any legal process, but focus on product protection and brand promotion. As a classic example, since this drama ensued, we have witnessed similar reviews of other brands, some even from the same industry, who are simply milking the situation to create a positive PR for themselves. For me, I'm interested in both sides of the argument when it gets to the courts, because legally, how does Erisco plan to use a keenly contested section of the Constitution that has been described as vague and ambiguous to prosecute Chioma Okoli? Also, how about the Nigerian police force? How does he explain away, the method through which, he got Chioma Okoli arrested? For Chioma Okoli, how does she plan to, explain away her use of the word killing despite the asterisks? Does it have other meanings that can be used as grounds for arguments against Erisco? And if so, or if not, is it enough grounds for prosecution or subject to, open interpretation? So, guys, you've heard all of it. So where do you start? Both sides of the divide exist and may argue from maybe one or two valid standpoints. But from a public survey of opinions, some think Chioma Okoli went overboard with her criticism. She lacked probe and would damage a company that is simply trying to thrive. While some would opine that this is simply at its basic form a war against free speech and fundamental human rights, given how everything has played out and coupled with the use of the Nigerian police force, who have become the billions as usual in this case. Finally, if you are a peace lover like I am, and you are asking, is there still a way out of this outside the courts? The answer is yes. This case can still be resolved through negotiation, and all it takes is a sincere effort from both parties, along with a skilled mediator, and this could lead to a mutually agreeable situation or settlement, as it were. Lawyers experienced in mediation rather than just courtroom battles should be engaged throughout this process. And I see this as a more ideal and sustainable move, particularly for Erisco Foods, because courts are not designed for business growth. So even a successful lawsuit for Erisco might only result in penalties for Chioma, serving more as a deterrent rather than, the supposed pathway forward to redeem Erisco and even Chioma from this entire mess. Also, the pendulum is a little bit strong towards her side because she has garnered some form of public sympathy. And so, depending on what the outcome of the court situation is, there could be more boycotts or even, more slander or, falsehood from media organizations or perhaps even Erisco's competitors who could be somewhere behind the scenes using this occurrence to fan the embers of war and further defame the company. So it really remains to see what becomes of the case. If there is an out-of-court settlement, then I think it works better for both parties. However, I predict if they have to go by the way of the courts, then we are going to experience a lengthy judicial delays. So that's going to be all for now. Please consider subscribing if you have not subscribed so that you can get quick notifications when I upload new videos.